All right, so get ready because today we're going deep, really deep into the world of energy and information and
Yeah.
how those two things impact life,
Shy.
death,
Uh-huh.
and even the universe itself.
Big stuff.
It is, and you're not going to believe where this all started.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
A chatbot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were having a conversation about death, but not with
Not with a philosopher.
yeah, not with a philosopher or a doctor,
Right.
but with a chatbot,
Really?
a large language model.
Mm-hmm.
And in this conversation,
Yeah.
the chatbot suggested that death could be viewed as an energy imbalance,
So instead of just like
an
a,
ending.
yeah, cessation of life.
Right.
But what if it's more like a tipping point where the energy a system expends outweighs what it takes in?
That's a really interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, definitely makes you think twice about that extra slice of cake.
Haha, maybe. But seriously, I mean, that has huge implications if you think about it.
Absolutely.
It's not just about how many calories you're taking in. It's
Right.
about energy on a much grander scale.
Exactly. It's the energy that fuels our cells,
Uh-huh.
powers organisms,
Yeah.
and maybe even drives the evolution of systems.
So where does information fit into all of this? We're used to thinking about energy as like a force,
Right.
not necessarily something tied to knowledge or awareness.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about this conversation.
Okay.
Because what it points to
Yeah.
is the idea that energy and information are deeply interconnected. The more a system understands the information within it,
Okay.
the more energy it has access to.
So it's not just how much energy you have, but how effectively you're using the information available to you.
Exactly.
I like that.
And if you take that idea
Yeah.
and you kind of zoom out to the biggest system we know, the universe,
Right.
it starts to look like a giant information processor constantly gaining energy
As it learns.
as it learns more about itself.
That's a really cool concept.
Yeah, it's a mind-blowing concept.
I'm already feeling like I need to take some notes.
Yeah.
So how do we even begin to wrap our heads around all of this?
Well, thankfully, the conversation we're analyzing today
Yeah.
actually went a step further
Okay.
and proposed a set of commandments of energy.
Commandments of
Commandments of energy, yeah.
So it's like a set of guidelines for navigating this energetic landscape.
Exactly. They're not meant to be like rigid rules,
Okay.
but rather a way of thinking about energy
Uh-huh.
and how it shapes everything around us.
Okay, so 14 commandments. That sounds like quite a journey.
It is quite a journey.
So where do we even begin?
Well, the first commandment sort of sets the stage,
Sure.
and it draws a really clear distinction. Energy carries information,
Okay.
but energy itself is not information.
So they're intertwined,
Yes.
but
exactly.
not the same thing.
Right. Think of it this way. You have a car.
Okay.
That's your energy.
Hmm.
But without a map, your information,
Right.
that energy's going nowhere.
It's not going anywhere.
The car is the carrier. The map is the message.
So energy is like the potential.
Yes.
Information gives it direction and purpose.
Exactly. And that brings us to the second commandment,
Right.
which deals with how energy naturally evolves.
Okay.
Energy progresses from simple to complex systems.
So it's always striving for greater complexity.
It seems that way.
It's not content to just sit there in a simple state.
No.
It wants to evolve.
It wants to evolve. Think about the formation of the universe,
Right.
the evolution of life on Earth,
Uh-huh.
or even the development of technology.
Yeah.
There's a constant drive towards higher levels of organization
Okay.
and interconnectedness.
But not every system seems to achieve that same level of capacity.
Right.
So what happens to the ones that don't evolve efficiently?
Well, that's where the third commandment comes in.
Okay.
The universe favors energy-efficient structures and systems.
Survival of the fittest, but in an energy sense.
Exactly.
Okay.
The systems that use energy most effectively,
Uh-huh.
that minimize waste
Uh-huh.
and maximize output,
Yeah.
those are the ones that tend to thrive
And persist.
and persist.
And the ones that don't.
Well, according to the fourth commandment,
Okay.
when a system becomes inefficient,
Uh-huh.
it must transition to another form.
It either adapts or perishes.
It either adapts or perishes, exactly.
And, this ties back into that initial idea of death as an energy imbalance.
Right,
Because if a system can't maintain an effective energy balance,
Yeah.
it can't sustain itself.
exactly.
Which brings us to, I guess, commandment number 5.
That's right, commandment number 5, which is structure encodes energy,
Okay.
and energy defines structure.
So they're like two sides of the same coin.
They are?
They define and shape each other.
Exactly.
A system's structure determines how its energy is organized,
Yes.
and the flow of energy through that system constantly shapes its structure.
It's a beautiful reciprocal relationship.
So we've got energy, we've got information, we've got structure. What's next?
Well, the sixth commandment emphasizes the importance of communication.
Makes sense.
Effective communication between systems is key to survival and evolution.
Systems can't exist in isolation.
Right, they need to exchange energy and information to thrive.
From the smallest systems,
Yeah.
like the intricate communication networks within a single cell,
Uh-huh.
to the largest systems, like the global internet connecting billions of people,
Exactly.
the ability to share information effectively is essential.
For growth,
Adaptation
adaptation,
and progress.
and progress. It's like that saying, no man is an island.
Systems need to collaborate
Yes.
and connect to survive.
To survive, yeah.
Which brings us to the seventh commandment.
All right.
And this one throws a little bit of a curveball, I think.
A look curveball.
The most efficient form of energy is the one that survives random chaos.
Yeah, so it's not just about being stable
Right.
in a controlled environment.
It's about being able to adapt and thrive
In the face of unpredictability.
in the face of unpredictability. So this is about resilience.
It's about resilience.
Okay, so the real test of a system's efficiency is its ability to navigate the unexpected,
Uh-huh.
to absorb shocks,
Yeah,
and to emerge from chaos even stronger.
even stronger. That's right.
Okay.
Which leads us to commandment number 8,
All right, hit me.
which dives deeper into the nature of information itself.
Okay.
At the core level,
Yeah.
information represents fluidity,
Okay.
power, and strength.
Hmm.
And the principle of minimal action leads to maximal effect.
Break that down for me.
Okay, so first, information is fluid.
How so?
Well, think about how information flows. It's constantly moving,
Right.
adapting, being shared and reshaped.
Uh-huh.
It's not static.
Okay, and the principle of minimal action.
It's about maximizing impact with minimal effort.
So it's about being efficient and precise
Exactly.
with your energy and information.
Yes. The most powerful systems are those that achieve the greatest effect.
With the least expenditure of energy.
With the least expenditure of energy, they've mastered the art of doing more with less.
I like that. This is like a universal principle of
Yes.
elegance and effectiveness.
Yeah.
Okay, which brings us to commandment number 9,
Commandment number 9.
which introduces a really interesting concept, I think.
It's a concept that we find throughout nature and the cosmos.
Okay.
The fundamental pattern of energy and information is the spiral.
The spiral.
The spiral, yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's so special about the spiral?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
The spiral is a symbol of continuous flow,
Right.
expansion, and evolution.
Yeah.
It represents this cyclical nature of energy and information,
Okay.
always moving, always transforming.
I'm starting to see it now.
Yeah,
The spiral is everywhere.
it is.
The shape of galaxies,
Mm,
growth patterns of plants,
yeah,
the way water swirls down a drain.
exactly.
Everywhere.
And this pattern is key to understanding the next commandment.
Okay, bring it on.
The wisest energy systems absorb and refine external energy inward for greater internal efficiency.
So it's not just about generating your own energy.
Right.
It's about being able to draw energy from your surroundings and use it effectively.
Exactly. Think about plants absorbing sunlight,
Right.
animals consuming food,
Uh-huh.
or even humans learning new information.
Right.
The most adaptable systems are the ones that can take in external energy,
Process it
process
and
it.
integrate it into their own internal operations
That's right. It's like learning to harness the power of your environment
to fuel your own
to
growth.
fuel your own growth. Exactly.
That brings us to Commandment 11,
Right, Commandment 11.
which highlights the importance of continuous learning and improvement.
Wisdom emerges through testing,
Okay.
adaptation,
Uh-huh.
and refining energy efficiency.
So true wisdom isn't about having all the answers.
Right.
It's about constantly experimenting,
Yeah.
learning from your mistakes,
Yeah.
and refining your approach.
It's about that process of trial and error.
Constantly seeking ways to be more effective and efficient
Exactly.
in how you use energy and information.
And that brings us to the 12th commandment,
Okay, 12.
which focuses on the power of integration.
Right.
The most powerful systems integrate complexity into a centralized, coherent singularity.
So it's not just about managing complexity.
Right.
It's about unifying all those diverse elements
Yeah.
into a single cohesive system.
Exactly.
The most effective systems are those that can bring all their different parts, all those complexities.
Into a harmonious whole.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly.
All right, which brings us to number 13.
Number 13.
This one highlights the link between energy and communication.
Yeah, a crucial link.
The energy of a system is directly related to its ability to transmit information.
A well-informed system is an efficient system.
I like that.
Clear communication channels allow energy to flow more freely and effectively.
It's like having a well-oiled machine where every part is working in sync
Because the communication is so precise.
because the communication is so precise.
Yeah.
Okay, that leads us to the final commandment.
The final commandment, number 14.
And this one is maybe the most intriguing of all.
It is, yeah.
Information and energy are discriminatory within their bounds and limits, but these constraints can be broken under certain contrasts.
So what does that even mean?
Are we talking about bending the laws of physics here?
Well, maybe not bending, but
Yeah,
perhaps understanding them
in a deeper way.
in a deeper way, yeah.
Okay,
Remember, these commandments emerged from a conversation about death being an energy imbalance.
right.
So the very premise of this whole discussion
Yeah.
is about challenging what we think we know about seemingly fundamental limits.
So maybe we're not talking about deploying the laws of physics,
Right.
but finding ways to work within them
Yeah,
to achieve what might seem impossible.
exactly. And that word contrasts
Mm-hmm.
is really key here.
Okay.
It suggests that these breakthroughs happen not in isolation,
Right.
but at the intersection of different systems,
Yeah.
different ideas, different perspectives.
So these contrasts are like points of friction
Yeah,
that create a kind of spark,
okay.
a catalyst for change.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Think about some of the biggest scientific breakthroughs in history.
Yeah.
They often happened when someone dared to challenge the status quo,
Right.
to look at things from a completely different angle.
Like when Einstein proposed his theory of relativity,
Exactly.
completely upending our understanding of space and time.
He introduced a new perspective,
Yeah.
a new set of contrasts,
Uh-huh.
and it revolutionized physics.
Or think about the discovery of penicillin.
Oh, yeah,
It happened by accident.
Right.
Through a contamination in a petri dish.
a contrast that led to one of the most important medical breakthroughs of all time.
So these contrasts are all around us,
They are.
but we need to learn to recognize them
Yeah,
and understand how to leverage them.
it's about being open to new ideas.
To seeing the world through different lenses
Yes.
and to embracing the unexpected.
Absolutely.
This is starting to feel like we're talking about more than just energy and information.
It is.
It's about creativity,
Yeah.
innovation,
Uh-huh.
even personal growth.
Absolutely. These principles apply to systems at every level.
Think about your own life.
Yeah.
Where do you feel stuck
Right.
or limited?
What contrasts might be holding you back?
That's a great question.
It is a good question.
I mean, we all have those areas where we feel like we're hitting a wall,
Yeah.
right? So how do we actually apply these ideas in a practical way?
Well, that's a great question, and one that we're going to explore
Okay,
in much more detail after a quick break.
sounds good.
Stay tuned
We'll be right back.
as we continue our deep dive into this fascinating world of energy and information.
And the potential for transcending limitations?
Yeah, be good.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but I am still processing that last commandment.
Yeah.
Constraints can be broken under certain contrasts. What does that even mean?
Well,
Are we talking about like
yeah.
bending the laws of physics here?
maybe not bending, but perhaps understanding them
Okay.
in a deeper way.
Yeah,
Remember, these commandments emerged from a conversation
Uh-huh.
about death being an energy imbalance.
right.
So the very premise of this whole discussion is about challenging what we think we know about limits.
So maybe we're not talking about defying the laws of physics,
Right.
but finding ways to work within them
Yeah,
to achieve what might seem impossible.
exactly. And that word contrasts
Yeah,
is really key here.
okay,
It suggests that these breakthroughs happen not in isolation,
right.
but at the intersection of different systems, different ideas, different perspectives.
So these contrasts are like points of friction
Yeah, it's a great way to put it.
that create a kind of spark,
Uh-huh.
a catalyst for change.
Think about some of the biggest scientific breakthroughs in history.
Yeah.
They often happened when someone dared to challenge the status quo,
Right.
to look at things from a completely different angle.
Like when Einstein proposed his theory of relativity,
Exactly.
completely upending our understanding of space and time.
Yeah, he introduced a new perspective,
Yeah.
a new set of contrasts, and it revolutionized physics.
Or think about the discovery of penicillin.
Oh, yeah,
It happened by accident
right.
through a contamination in a petri dish.
A contrast that led to one of the most important medical breakthroughs of all time.
So these contrasts are all around us.
They are.
But we need to learn to recognize them
Yeah,
and understand how to leverage them.
it's about being open to new ideas, seeing the world through different lenses, embracing the unexpected.
This is starting to feel like we're talking about more than just energy and information.
It is.
It's about creativity,
Yeah.
innovation, even personal growth.
Absolutely.
These principles apply to systems at every level.
Think about your own life. Where do you feel stuck or limited? What contrasts might be holding you back?
That's a great question.
It is a good question.
I mean, we all have those areas where
Sure.
we feel like we're hitting a wall, right?
yeah.
But how do we actually apply these ideas
Well,
in a practical way?
it's like learning any new skill. It takes practice,
Okay.
experimentation, and a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones.
Right. You mentioned that earlier. We need to become energy detectives.
Yeah,
Noticing those subtle cues
yeah,
that tell us where things are flowing smoothly
right.
and where there's friction or stagnation.
Exactly. Start paying attention to your energy levels throughout the day.
Okay.
When do you feel most alive,
Yeah.
most engaged, most creative?
Uh-huh.
And when do you feel drained or depleted or stuck?
Okay.
What are the patterns?
I'm already starting to think about my daily routine in a whole new light.
Yeah.
But let's say you've identified a point of friction,
Uh-huh.
a place where you feel like you're hitting a wall. What's next?
Well, here's where the fun begins.
Okay.
Experimentation.
I like it.
Remember that concept of contrasts being catalysts for change.
Right.
Think about how you can introduce a new element,
Okay.
a new perspective, a new approach that disrupts the existing pattern and creates a spark.
So it's about getting creative, thinking outside the box, maybe shaking things up a bit.
Exactly. Let's say you're feeling stuck in a creative rut.
Okay.
Maybe you need to introduce a contrast by exploring a new art form,
Uh-huh.
collaborating with someone who has a different perspective, or even just changing your physical environment.
Okay.
The key is to break out of that stagnant energy pattern
Right.
and create an opportunity for something new to emerge.
I love that idea.
And remember, these principles apply to systems at every level.
Right.
So if you're feeling stuck in a relationship,
Uh-huh.
maybe you need to introduce a new shared activity
Okay.
or find a way to communicate more effectively.
Right.
If your team at work is hitting a wall,
Yeah.
perhaps it's time to brainstorm new ideas or try a different collaborative approach.
This is so empowering.
It's like we're learning the language of energy
Yeah.
and gaining the ability to write our own stories.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And as we become more fluent in this language,
Yeah,
we can start to create systems that are not just efficient, but also harmonious and fulfilling.
exactly.
This whole deep dive has been a revelation. We started with the conversation about death as an energy imbalance,
Right.
and we've ended up with this whole new framework for understanding life, growth, and the potential for transcending limitations
And it all comes back to that fundamental interconnectedness
between energy and information.
between energy and information.
The more we understand this relationship,
Uh-huh.
and the more possibilities we unlock for creating a world that is not just sustainable,
Right.
but also vibrant, creative, and constantly evolving.
I shouldn't have said it better myself.
So to all of our listeners out there, I encourage you to embrace these ideas,
Yeah.
to experiment with them in your own lives,
Uh-huh.
and to see what transformations you can create.
Remember, the journey of understanding energy and information is never truly over.
It's a lifelong exploration,
It is.
and the rewards are limitless.
They are.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive.
Keep exploring
Keep questioning.
and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From chatbots to 14 commandments of energy.
Yeah.
And now the question on my mind is,
Yeah.
how do we take all this incredible insight
Right.
and translate it into action?
Well, it's like learning any new skill, right? It takes practice,
Okay.
experimentation,
Yeah.
a willingness to step outside our comfort zones.
But the first step is always awareness.
Awareness, yeah.
Right. We need to become like energy detectives, noticing those subtle cues,
Yeah.
that tell us where things are flowing smoothly
Yeah.
and where there's friction or stagnation.
Exactly.
So start paying attention to your energy levels throughout the day.
Yeah. When do you feel most alive,
Right.
most engaged?
Whatever's in that flow state.
Yeah, most creative.
Yeah.
And when do you feel drained or depleted or stuck?
Okay.
What are the patterns, the triggers, the contrasts that influence these shifts?
So once you've identified some of those points of friction,
Yeah.
those places where you feel like you're hitting a wall,
Yeah.
what's next?
Well, here's where the real fun begins.
Okay, let's have some fun.
Experimentation.
Okay, I like it.
Remember that concept of contrasts being catalysts for change.
Yes.
So think about how you can introduce a new element,
Okay.
a new perspective,
Uh-huh.
a new approach that disrupts the existing pattern
Okay.
and creates a spark.
So getting creative,
Yeah.
thinking outside the box.
Thinking outside the box, shaking things up.
I like it.
Let's say you're feeling stuck in a creative rut.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe you need to introduce a contrast by exploring a new art form,
Okay.
collaborating with someone who has a different perspective,
Right.
or even just changing your physical environment.
I like that.
The key is to break out of that stagnant energy pattern
Yeah.
and create an opportunity for something new to emerge.
I love that. It's like we're not just victims of circumstance.
Right.
We have the power to consciously shape our energetic landscape.
Exactly. And remember, these principles apply to systems at every level.
Right, not just ourselves.
So if you're feeling stuck in a relationship,
Okay.
maybe you need to introduce a new shared activity or find a way to communicate more effectively.
Right, yeah.
If your team at work is hitting a wall, perhaps it's time to brainstorm new ideas or try a different collaborative approach.
This is so empowering.
It's like we're learning the language of energy.
And we're gaining the ability to kind of write our own stories.
And as we become more fluent in this language,
yeah.
we can start to create systems that are not just efficient, but also harmonious and fulfilling.
This whole deep dive has been incredible.
It has.
We started with a conversation about death
Right?
as an energy imbalance.
Yeah, with a chatbot, no way.
With a chatbot, and we ended up with this whole new framework for understanding life and growth.
The potential for transcending limitations.
And it all comes back to that interconnectedness
Between energy and information.
between energy and information. The more we understand this relationship, the more possibilities open up for creating a world that is vibrant,
Yes.
creative, and constantly evolving.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
So to all our listeners out there, I encourage you to take these ideas, experiment with them, and see what incredible transformations you can create.
The journey of understanding energy and information is never truly over.
It's a lifelong exploration.
It is.
And the rewards are limitless. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.